Thokozani nabekhehle. Thokozani nabantwana bethongo. I send my greetings again to you wherever it is that you are in the world. And we thought, let's just come in again and have conversations, having conversations allows for a proper train of thought. It allows you to understand or at least have an insight if your train of thought is still on the right channel or is encountering certain blocks, as it were. So now, the one question that comes in today is the one that says, or that asks the question, who is the Sangoma in the 21st century? Who or what is the Sangoma? If that's even the right way of putting that question across, but Ubani Sangoma? Ubani Sangoma? Who are you, Sangoma? And maybe the question posed may first begin at that point, Uti, why would that question even pop up? And one of the things is that in our observation of the situation and the conditions, and I too speak here as a Sangoma, I also speak here as a Wanabadimu, as it were, to say, looking at our condition and looking at where we are, looking at where our practice is, looking at everything that is involved and also where the world is at, because where I have seen or eating some of the conversations that I've had with my colleagues or fellow initiates, is in the ability to be able to find ourselves or to find or define who we are in a world that has vastly changed. The realities that we face today are not the realities perhaps where our ancestors experienced. And now the question would be, okay, now how does one begin to define themselves then in the environments that they find themselves, Because Angiti, now this is where some of the arguments will begin now to say those who will begin to be innovative or creative or finding new ways will be fought by those who are saying, hey, perhaps you are changing things or you are changing traditions or you are changing indlela zempande and these are some of the things that to some extent hold us trapped and they keep us blocked as abantwana bethongo, in a sense ukuthi now somewhere somehow we find ourselves as considered gifted people, of which we are, but somewhere somehow it seems like there's a far cry, or it's a far cry to what a gifted child should be or experience, or at least holding a certain idea of themselves in a way that it does not feel like they are trying to act something that is not them, because now where most of us find ourselves is sesithwasile and then sinamadlozi kuvula bogogo nabomkhulu sabafikile and all that, and then somewhere somehow masesibuyela emakhaya and then iyaqala into manje indumba ayisebenzi or akungeni bantu or any of those things, because many of us, I also fall in that bandwagon, satshela ukuthi tsatsi le leng ha ebe hore wa thwasa or wa fetsa o thwasa, then dintho tsa hao di tlo vaya sharp, like o tlo ba grand, sedimo se tlo fele se hlakahlakantse dintho, and then somewhere in there in between you find your thing and boom, you are off and the elders are running with you and everything is going according to whatever your vision. And most of the time, if not all the time, it does not happen in that way. And I know when that situation comes in, this is where many of us as abantwana betonga, we will find ourselves going into a chaos, a personal chaos. And that personal chaos is the one where it is asking the sangoma ukuthi, and like, ningobani na right now, who am I supposed to be? Because na indumba isebenzi, okay, ngithwasile, I spent all of these monies, I did this, I did that, I yenza all of these sehlabelos, I did all these rituals and nyare nyare, but somewhere somehow there's this conflict efikayo between what is seen and what is expected from you as igodo labantwana as igodo labogogo nabomkhulu, and mind you, that turmoil is I don't know, necessary or maybe not even necessary, because this is where I'm coming at, Uti. It is not necessary unless we come to a point where we fix certain levels of our understanding, certain levels of our comprehension. Yokuthi yini ubizo noma ubizo luyini, or where does one begin to interpret even the idea yobizo, you understand? Because now many of us, the concept has been, or the idea has been ukuthi hey, ngoba manje ngingenwa amadlozi, then kunomkhulu sibanibani ofikayo, ngiphethe umgogo sibanibani, and all of those things. And where sometimes that becomes a trap in the mind of umntana wetonga is at the point where now this thing becomes about the gogos and not really about them. So where now omunye umuntu will because of the understanding yokuthi ungenwe ngabantu abadala, ungenwe idlozi, kengwa nabadimo, now it will be ukuthi now all things are about leli dlozi, or about these magogos and the mkulus who are supposed to come in and then somewhere somehow, because they know and see everything, and then come in and then do their mahalai magic nyana here and there and make things happen and whatever, and when that happens, then somewhere somehow Mtane Tonga has a complex yokuthi enhle kanti labo gogo nabomkhulu bona basebenza kanjani. I thought they said if I am ngathi mangiceda ukuthwasa then izinto zizovaya sharp or izinto. And mind you, I'm not even going into the confusions and the things that go wrong before umuntu is even accepted ephehlweni, uyangizwisisa into that's a subject matter on itself. But Lasi Corner is now saying where now this person, because now the gogos are not responding in a way that they expect or in the way that they see it in their own minds. And now, okay, now are these people working with me or they are not working with me? And now when an initiate or Umtane Tonga finds themselves in those kind of conditions, you need to have a certain level of understanding, Yoguti. For the mere fact that you are having that kind of a conversation must speak to a certain level where that speaks to you being separated, or where there's a separation between wena nabokoko nabomkhulu. You know what I'm saying? Because now, anytime you start having those kind of conversations, and like bakhona labantu noma bekho, bayangizwa labantu noma bangizwa. And like lento engiyenza iyabonakala noma ayibonakala. And like yonke lento sengiyenzile, has it been acknowledged, reached, and processed, and where are my results? Trust me, many of us have fallen into that trap. And look, it's not even wrong. It's not even a bad thing. It's not even something you need to beat yourself about for having to think or come to things in that manner. So we want to come in and deal with this issue of a separation between wena nedlozi, because now if there's still these patterns that are happening between wena nalo bakagogo, then forget about anything coming to life, forget about anything coming to so-called fruition, or izinto zikwazi ukuthi zihambe or zibonakale ukuthi zihambelane, because many get stuck at that point where they don't even understand the purpose of their own calling. And these are the questions that you need to solve usasephehlweni. These are not the things that you deal with because they require time. They require for you to be in a certain space. They require for you to have certain disciplines in order, which is another thing. After siphume emaphehlweni, all the principles, all the fundamentals in terms of keeping this spirit or ethos lako in check, many of us just go on the wayside. We just forget all the principles, and then somehow you are the very same people who turn around and want to say, hey, leli dlozi this, hey, leli dlozi that. Like many of us have escaped ngedlozi, like sizfihlile or sizfihla ngalo or si whatever, but see, we just see sebenzisa njengevika nje idlozi, and many of us have come to that abuse, you understand, where still abuse khona leli idlozi. But that's not where I'm at. Where I'm at is at that point where the question that was posed to you was, who are you, Sangoma, in the 21st century? You understand? Who are you in the fourth industrial revolution, as they call it? Singobani, bantwana bakagogo, because now there has to be a certain level of understanding, for you to be relevant, for you to find relevance in whatever skill set or ability or talent onayo. You have to understand the environment okuyo, and this is one of the things that we don't seem to go into kahle singabantwana bedlozi, you understand, in terms of understanding the environment, in terms of understanding ukuthi sikuphi, what is the status quo eyezinto, bantwana bakagogo, yangithola ezinjalo, where now a person will only be in that word clubby mindset yokuthi ubheke idlozi kuphela, kanti uthola ukuthi now you have to look at idlozi as well in the context of a whole lot of other things, or not even maybe a whole lot of other things, but in the context of everything that is happening about you. Young understanding doesn't jalo, because idlozi is everywhere. It's a quantum being, as it were, ngeslu. It's a quantum element. In other words, it's not ayikho endaweni eyi-one. Uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo. Ayikho endaweni eyi-one. Uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo, in a sense ukuthi hey idlozi kuwe emzimbeni kuphela. Uyangizwisisa. For those who understand and who have these experiences where you will pick up umuntu aseza kuwe endumbeni noma ephehlweni, wherever it is, uyangizwisisa, where you pick up a person ozoza kuwe, and then you get all the messages ezakhe lezo zinto lezo. Now we would ask ukuthi likuphi idlozi at that point in time. Is the dlozi in you, or is it the dlozi in that person, or is it the dlozi collectively putting you both in that whole scenario? So now we have to be clear on those kind of things. So if you are also not clear ngedlozi lakho, or you are not clear about what idlozi is, then you are going to have issues and problems in terms of locating or finding your center, or finding your space in life and reality. You understand? Because most of us have fallen into the trap of blaming and self-pity and anger and subliminal anger, and most of our angers are angers towards the very same dlozis who are supposed to be the ones who come back and, I don't know, fix the situation or fix the condition or whatever the case is. But somehow it ends up there where umuntu now ends up being angry, so much so, you understand, at elakhe idlozi. You know what I'm saying? This is the extremes where you find others who would say, hey, tina sesahamba sayo ukuphehlelwa sangena emaphehlweni nezinto zezangoma nini hayi wazilahla umuntu hayi mina ngabuyela esontweni kwasho kwacima ntoni. You know, you find those extremes where people went through the process. After going through the process and things were not going so-called according to uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo, and somehow now they found ukuthi yazi, let me just throw all of these things away, these things don't work, and whatever the case may be. And we were saying we don't even judge labo bantu labo, we don't even throw shade kubo labo bantu lapho, uyangizwisisa, because every situation will be unique. And this is where we are trying to get at, uyangizwisisa, ukuthi now where you are not given the true teachings yokuthi idlozi liyini bantwana bakagogo, then you won't also begin to orientate or ukuziphatha, or angeke uwazi ukuthi lento uyisebenzisa njani noma ikusebenzela kanjani noma isebenza njani, uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo. So it will always be that element of guesswork, or hayi bona bafika bona mabafuna, uyangizwisisa. If you are still traveling in those journeys mntana ekhehla, be patient with yourself, uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo. There comes a point in time in the journey where it's not just when the elders seek to come, no, it doesn't work like that, Thokozan. But we are also understand that this is also the levels or the degrees of ascension. Mawulokukhula edlozini, mawulokudlondlobala edlozini, uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo, where now it's not abogogo now owning their own time, uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo, because this is where again timing yasishaya, because somehow we are working with a timing that we cannot really pinpoint, so to speak. So lento isifikela yona mayifika, but somewhere you have control of it. Mawuphakathi endumbeni kunomuntu athi uzophefumula la kuwe, uyangithola ukuthi ngithini. So yabona ukuthi khona la sinokusishaya khona nathi in terms of how we understand indaba yedlozi bakagogo. So what are we saying now? We are saying to you now, for you to be able, or at least to get to a point la ukwazi khona ukuthi okay, ithi sengizitholile noma ngiyitholile yami into, uyangizwisisa, because izinto zomona, izinto zokuthakathana, izinto zokusebenza umona, simply put, because usiphethe zangoma, usiphethe, and fundamentally is because the certain levels of understanding that have not come, or khona la singazwani khona, uyangizwisisa, in terms of how we come to understand the universal principle eyedlozi, uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo, because this is where now nathi sesidevelop imikhuba abantwana bethonga la manje umuntu awusakwazi noku-addressa certain fundamentals ezedlozi, izinto ezijule edlozini, ngoba umuntu uzovela azifihle noma baleke athi hayi thina impande yethu akuyenziwa kanje, noma impande this, impande that, impande this, impande that, uyangithola into ezinjalo. And this is where now people begin to run away, uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo, and then judgments come in, and then thina sigcine thina sesikhendlana thina ngokwethu bantwana bakagogo, because we don't want to confront reality, we don't want to confront amaqiniso aphambi kwethu bantwana bakagogo, uyangizwisisa. I appreciate indaba zempande, ngunkomo yolandle mina lapho idabuka khona ijuja phansi naphezulu engabona umuntu iphuma yolandle makhulu, ilapho ngadabuka khona bakagogo nabo umkhulu, la ngalibalele phambi kwamadoda nabafazi bathi ngiyafa, kanti lapho bese sithabatha khona ubukhosi bethu bayede bantwana bakagogo. So I'm trying to say to you ukuthi kukhona la nathi sesizikondeme khona abantwana bakagogo, and la sithina sizivale khona ngeingqondo ifana nomgede esizivalele kuwo, and lo mgede loyo uwo senza ukuthi nathi sesingakwazi ukuthi now how do we begin to place ourselves in the reality esesibhekane nayo, uyangizwisisa, because nakunalento eseyivukayo phakathi kwezangoma ukuthi hayi kunezangoma ezamanje, hayi kunelezangoma lezakudala, hayi kunezangoma asazi ukuthi sekuvele ziphi izangoma. And I thought ubungoma it matters not ukuthi wakudala noma waninini, uyangizwisisa. And that is a fundamental that we have seemed to have forgotten njengabantwana bakagogo, uyangithola nina bedlozi, ukuthi what singabangoma, that is the fundamental that binds us. Let's forget these traditions ezisiyenza ukuthi sihlukane, uyangithola into ezinjalo, but fundamentally lento lezothi singabangoma, uyangizwisisa. And what is it that we understand from that point of view? Because now if you don't understand the school okuso, if you don't understand the fraternity, leyo kuyona mntana ethongo, then it's going to be difficult for you now to find your orientation, noma ukuthi usebenza njani, noma ukuthi yini leyo wena okumele ukuthi uyenze. Because most of the time, and I have seen this in practice, amadlozi kudala aphendulile, kudala ibekile indaba, kudala acacisile izinto, kudala nje ahlazile izinto, gale bayibeyile taba, mara bothata kore comprehension ya how ngwana badimo is the problem and the issue, and the understanding part is the point ukuthi manje nina ni expect ukuthi idlozi liyenze yonke into. Bantwana bakagogo ni expect idlozi ukuthi kube ulo magic mahalai, like these religious mindsets esinikezwe zona, no, that we come in with an inheritance of. Uyangithola into ezinjalo, because these are some of the things that we still have to deal with, and we will get into those kind of things. Uyangithola bakagogo ukuthi manje some of you bring these religious ideas, religious mindset ideas, uyangizwisisa, and you want to transport them ngapha entweni okuthiwa yisintu. Uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo, another idea on its own, but anyway, into what we call isintu. And now when some of those ideas that are held in the religious space do not merge or find a flow or a congruency, ukuhambisana asihambisani kahle nalento lekuthiwa isintu, now then there's another chaos eqalayo phakathi kwenu bantwana bekho bethongo. Uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo. So now we are asking, Sangoma, who are you? Who are you in the 21st century? Who do you define yourself as, or who do you come out as? Uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo, because now again another stereotype is now that everyone has this idea yokuthi sonke siyizangoma fanele sishayele, kumele sibe namathwasa. Uyangizwisisa, noma kumele kube nama-line, kumele kube angazi fanele ukuyenzakaleni ukubonisa ukuthi idlozi liyaphila emuntwini, noma idlozi ngempela lelagajekwa ngaleyo mini leyo mntana ethongo. Uyangizwisisa, lavuka lasho ukuthi nalo selibuyile emagulubaneni bantwana bakagogo. Manje-ke now when things of a physical nature begin to happen, somehow umntana ethonga forgets that moment, forgets that reality. Uyangithola into ezinjalo ukuthi hayi shuthi thina kahle idlozi livukile kuphela mase sibona imisebenzi yedlozi, kodwa mase sibona imisebenzi yenyama, kodwa you don't realize the true processes that are really happening bantwana bakagogo. Thokozani bomkhulu, it is now this thing esithi manje people want to interpret spiritual data or metaphysical data in the logic of a finite or a physical structure of information. Uyangizwisisa, it's like almost saying I want to use words to explain the vastness of the spiritual dimension. That is insane. Nami njoba ngikhuluma manje, I'm just trying to pick here and there to try and express certain ideas bakagogo of this land or lesikhuluma ngayo kuthiwa ngumoya noma umkhathi or imikhathi, whatever it is. Uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo. So now the issue or the place where you will begin in finding your understanding, or what is it that your thing is about, is firstly to go and understand ukuthi iyini lento. Because if you are still trapped at the point yokuthi gogo nomkhulu abantu who once lived and they died, that is a limited understanding. Let me make that clear to you. That is a limited comprehension on how or who or what the reality of Khokho bethu really is. Now another person may ask, then what is another definition? Perhaps. And we are saying to you, the further aspects that this thing stretches themselves, where you can identify your ancestry, is as close as intabati, is as close as utshani. Ukuthi nalo utshani ungaba ugogo wakho. A piece of sand can be your ancestor, can be your idlos lakho. A tree. And where does even the whole essence of healing impande come from? Because kunedlozi, and we understand that as abantwana bethonga, or those who have been properly initiated, ukuthi isihlahla siyaphila. Umuntu, it is an entity, it is an existence, and in you understanding your communion or your communication nalo existence, yiyo zokutshela ukuthi no, mina mangithatha wena ungithatha empandeni noma ungithatha lana emzimbeni noma ungithatha le phezulu, whichever, kodwa mina this is what I'm meant to do uma ngiqala ngidibana nomzimba womuntu. Uyangizwisisa? This is a communication, this is a language that is happening at levels that somewhere somehow when I'm done, you are not at the liberty, or you are not realizing the level of communion that you really have nabantu obakini. Uyangizwisisa into ezinjalo? Because if you don't understand that part, then forget about you trying to find yourself in whichever century. Whichever century, because you don't fundamentally understand where the source yalento ibuya khona, and la unga understand la ibuya khona, then you won't understand how or yini le kumele ukuthi uyenze so that lento le ikwazi ukuthi ikusebenzele nayo. Thokozani bakagogo. So we are coming back on this idea bakagogo in finding oneself as a 21st century Sangoma. We are coming back. This is where we stop for now. Bayat.